Ask Angelina, but before we get into today's episode, I want to remind you that if you like my podcast, please follow, rate, and share it with your friends and family. Last episode, I gave you a glimpse of what is it like to volunteer in Tanzania and connect with incredible women working hard to build their businesses and lead their communities. But this time, I want to take you a little bit deeper into the everyday stories that go often untold. The behind-the-scene realities of starting a business with no financial safety net, competing in unpredictable markets, and working without the basic tools we often take for granted, like stable internet and a working computer. This episode is about the real hustle, the challenges these women face, and how they continue to show up, adapt, and support one another through it all. Unfortunately, I did not get the chance to work with some of the groups my project organization works with, such as the TRC Leganga Center that educates young, ambitious girls from the ages 18 to 25 who are also school dropouts due to sudden reasons such as pregnancy or poverty, the Rose Flower Community, and the Focus Academy College, which is a college that trains young women and men from ages 18 to 25 on various courses that they choose to learn about. So I thought that was pretty neat, but I'm so sad that I didn't get the chance to work with them. However, our project mainly works with 8 women groups, which are the Farajika, Matonyok, Upendo A, Mendelio, Niravel, Faith, and Kazi women groups. So for these 8 women groups, each woman have their own individual business as well as their group businesses if they choose to have it. Like the 6 women in the Kazi group, they use their loans and pool together money to sell the batiki, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, liquid soap, snacks, and cultural ornaments to sell to the market. So how do we play a role in this? Well, we work together with them by meeting them repeatedly on a designated day of the week that they choose, such as the Farajika, we meet them on Monday in the morning, and the Matonyo Women Group, we meet them in Monday in the afternoon. And we provide loans to these groups if they choose to do so. So let me give you a scenario. Let's say 2 women I met who are part of the Matonyo group, Juliet and Joyce. Juliet sells bead accessories for a living, while Joyce sells an African material called vintinge, and they want to work together. So they create a business that combines Juliet's beadwork with Joyce's expertise in working with this vintinge material. So like what Halima said, they would be provided with financial support of loans from us, which they apply for, which are free of interest rate, which is really good. And they would have to decide how much to repay each month to pay back the entire loan to give back to our organization. So when I first heard of free interest rate and no collateral, I was very shocked. This system will definitely help benefit them as they can develop their businesses, focus on contributing to the community, and also saving earned money for maybe their children's education or other small things that would help benefit their business. This process would also work in the whole group businesses where all the women in the group would come together and decide how are they going to use that amount of money. Just like, for example, one of the groups want to start a chair business. They need to decide how many chairs to buy, who to sell it to, how to pay back the loans given from the organization, where to store the chairs, and etc. So there's a lot to think about as a business owner, and being part of these women groups would help benefit them as they are all combining and pooling their money to make this dream come true. So that's why I wanted to join this project and help empower these women with financial support through loans. Use my voice and experience to teach them about things that I got the privilege to learn about in school, such as being a leader, how to delegate tasks and roles, how to set rules and write them, and in other aspects that they have not learned before. Through these trainings, I was in awe in how motivated and ambitious these women were to learn about these different topics that they were interested in and also how to enforce it within their groups. So I'll give a little story of something that happened when we were doing a training. When we were teaching the Farajika women group about how to create and structure a constitution, why is it important to write one for a group, and most importantly, where to write it, I assumed that at least one of them had access to a computer, but it was my mistake not to even think about where they would store it. For me, when I write on Google Docs, Word, Google Sheets, slides, whatever, it's saved on my computer in a file and online. But for them, their access to a computer is at a public internet cafe, where everyone in town uses the computer, and storing a file on that computer is not an option. After hearing about the situation from them and also how they don't have a flash drive, which I thought was pretty oblivious of me to assume that no one uses them anymore, but to them it was extremely important because otherwise they would have to handwrite the entire Constitution, and if they wanted to change it, that would be a really bad disaster because they would not be able to change it and they would have to write the entire thing over again. So we ended up buying a flash drive for them to start the Constitution journey, and I felt so excited to be part of their journey and also help them. But then at the same time, I was also a bit guilty because my assumptions got the best of me, and I should not have assumed that they already had a computer or they even had a flash drive. Here's another short story from a woman group that we visited called Upendo A. So one woman, I forgot her name, if it was Stella or Selena, but I'm so sorry. I think it's Stella. She owned a retail shop where she sells rice, cooking oil, flour, and basically your own mini grocery store. So she buys her products from a wholesaler for a high price, but then she sells it, for example, like rice at a high price from the high price wholesaler. And the customers complained that it's at such an unreasonable price. Why is it so expensive? It's just rice. But to her, they don't understand what she's coming from as an owner, as a woman, as someone who has to pay those high prices to get those products. And it doesn't really come from anywhere, so it needs to come from somewhere, which is the wholesaler. And that causes an issue. But then there's another challenge, which is the market. The competition among the sellers, that's the main part. So for example, someone opens the same shop as her, suddenly lowers their prices, and then more customers will go over to their shop, and she will have no customers. Then it forces her to lower her prices of products to compete with the other shop, and then the other shop will lower their prices, and then that'll just keep going on. And I don't take econ, but I think that's an idea called supply and demand. So like another woman from that group was also really stressed due to prices and the market competition. And so she sells 1 liter of milk for 1,400 shillings. And other people sell it at 1,000 shillings. So she says her customers shift over to those stores because of those lower prices. And then she loses customers, and then it's similar to the other story that I just said. And then she has to lower her prices, which is such a loss to her. So I think the issue is that there are no regulation within the market because all the prices depend on the seller's choice, their competitors, and their prices. And the thing is that everyone is trying to sell their goods in the market to make a living, feed their family, and also contribute to the community. So I think it's like two sides of the same coin, which is an idiom that refers to two different aspects of a single situation that are closely related and you can't see them without the other. So basically the good and the bad for many business owners, and that is a problem. And this especially creates stress for the women business owners that I've talked to, who are part of these women groups dealing with this market competition. What I saw in Tanzania was not just entrepreneurship. It was survival, sisterhood, and strength in its rawest form. These women were not just building businesses, they were building futures for their kids, for the communities, and for each other. With every beaded necklace, every liter of milk sold, and every loan repaid, they were making empowerment real. Not just an idea that's passed around the community and left alone. And what moved me most was how they never gave up. Despite the odds were stacked against them with no regulated market and limited access to technology. It made me realize that real empowerment is not something you give to help others. So if there's anything I've learned, it's that empowerment is not arriving with all the answers and trying to fix things. It's about showing up, listening, learning, and standing beside the people as they write their own success stories, one challenge at a time. Asante kwa kusikiliza, or thank you so much for listening in Swahili. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and don't forget to follow, rate, and share this podcast with your friends and family. Until next time, never underestimate the power of a woman with a plan. Hakuna Matata, or as it translates into, take it easy, and Kwaheri, goodbye!